They'll laugh. They'll post their stories, tag their friends, flood their feed with fake smiles and glowing filters. And you'll sit in silence wondering if you ever meant a damn thing to them. Let me save you the pain of asking, because the answer's simple: you did. Too much. That's the problem. See, people don't break what doesn't matter. They destroy what they know they can't control. And you gave them the one thing that should have been earned: presence. And now they're out there pretending your absence is peace? Give it time. That silence, it's gonna echo so loud it'll shatter their illusions. You ever seen a person suffocate in silence? Not from lack of noise, but from the ghost of someone who used to show up, fix their broken moments, listen to their endless complaints, patch their wounds without asking for a thank you. You were that ghost. You haunted their chaos. You gave clarity to their mess. And now they act like they're thriving. Funny, isn't it, how the most damaged ones scream the loudest with their so-called healing, right after losing the one who held them together. But don't worry, the act doesn't last, because masks crack. And memories? Oh, memories don't fade. They wait. You know what hurts the most? It's not their silence. It's how they weaponize it. Like, look, I'm fine without you. I moved on. You never mattered. But deep down you did. See, they don't post about the late night breakdowns, or how they check your profile just to see if you're hurting. They'll never show the real stuff, the emptiness you left behind, the silence that now lives where your laughter once did. Because admitting that means facing guilt, regret, accountability. And oh, sweetheart, they ain't built for that. You gave love like loyalty was free. You showed up when they didn't even call. You forgave things that should have broken you. But here's the catch. The more you gave, the less they respected. That's the twisted math of this world. Be kind, they say, but never kind without limits. And you had no limits. That's why they thought they could bleed you dry and walk away clean. That's why they felt so confident leaving. But let me tell you something they didn't expect. Your silence is a storm they can't survive. Because now they sit in rooms filled with noise, and none of it feels like you. They laugh, but it don't hit the same. They talk, but no one listens like you did. They reach out to others, but those hands, they don't hold the same way yours did. And eventually, they feel it. That gap, that cold, that absence that doesn't whisper. It screams. It screams your name every time life hits, and you're not there to catch the fall. See, they never lost you when you walked away. They lost you before that, when they made you question your worth, when they rolled their eyes at your efforts, when they took your energy, your care, your soul, and treated it like it was replaceable. But people like you ain't found twice, and they're gonna learn that lesson the hard way. In silence, in regret, in the middle of some random day, when life feels hollow, and they don't even know why. Until your name crashes into their mind like a punch they never saw coming. And that's when it starts, the rewind, the memory reel, the what ifs, the maybe I shouldn't have. But by then, it's too damn late. You're not a rerun. You're not a placeholder. You were the light in their darkness. And they treated you like a flickering lamp. But when that real dark hits, when no one stays long enough to understand them like you did, when their phone dries up and their soul starts to itch from the weight of unspoken words, that's when your absence becomes a punishment. And you don't need to react. You don't need to explain. You don't owe an update, a closure, a response. Let them sit in the silence they chose. Let them dance with the pride that made them lose you. Because real power ain't in yelling. It's in leaving quietly, completely, coldly. And when they finally realize what they did, all they'll have is echoes. And guess what? Echoes don't hold hands. Echoes don't say sorry. Echoes don't love back. They just repeat over and over what once was. So sit back, grow, heal, building. Let them act fine, because one day soon, that act, it'll break. And when it does, your absence will do what your presence never could. It'll teach them. They think time erases you, that the longer they go without you, the quieter your name becomes in their head. But what they don't understand, what they never bothered to learn, is that time doesn't erase people like you. It preserves you, like a scar that never fades, a pain they've learned to carry, not cure. They walk around thinking they've healed, thinking they've moved on, but they didn't move on. They moved around the absence, built routines around the hole you left. They've become experts in distraction, masters in pretending. But pretending isn't peace, it's survival. And survival without meaning, that's just delayed collapse. Because one day, maybe on a night they didn't expect to feel weak, or during a song they thought they forgot, you'll hit them. Not with a message, not with a call, not even with a memory, just with absence. Heavy, loud, deafening, and that's when they'll crumble. Because the silence you left behind won't just speak, it'll scream. And it won't scream because you were loud. It'll scream because you were real, genuine, steady. You didn't love with conditions. You didn't play mind games. You didn't treat them like an option. You were the damn constant in a world full of variables, and they treated you like a variable too. Thought you'd bend, stay, beg. They confused kindness with weakness, presence with permanence. They forgot that even the most patient souls have a breaking point. And yours? It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, final. The kind that doesn't leave a crack. It leaves a void no one else can fill, no matter how many new faces they try to replace you with. You ever seen someone try to replace the irreplaceable? It's pathetic. They start looking for pieces of you in people who ain't even built like you. They chase attention like it's affection. They settle for shallow just to feel something. But deep down they know it's not you. It'll never be you. Because you weren't just a person. You were a presence, a space, a piece they never understood while they had it. And now that it's gone, now that it's vanished without explanation, they're restless, agitated, empty. But they'll never admit that. Nah. Too much pride, too much ego, too scared to say, I ruined something real. And you don't need to prove a damn thing. Not your worth, not your loyalty, not your love. That was all visible, obvious. If they didn't see it, it's because they were blind by choice. And you can't save someone who enjoys drowning. You can't help someone who mistakes pain for passion. Let them suffer. Let them sit with their decisions. Let them laugh a little louder, post a little more, flirt a little harder. Because all of it, it's noise. Desperate, hollow noise. A cover-up for a silence that's eating them alive from the inside. They miss you, but they'll never say it. Because saying it means admitting they were wrong. And people like that, they don't apologize. They just suffer in silence. But I want you to understand something very clearly. This pain you feel, it's not weakness. It's the price of being real in a world full of masks. It's the cost of caring when everyone else just uses. But that pain, it's also power. The kind of power that reshapes you, rebuilds you, refines you. Don't waste it trying to get back what broke you. Don't go chasing after someone who ran when they should have held on. Let them watch you grow without them. Let them hear about your progress from the same silence they underestimated. Because nothing hits harder than realizing the one you pushed away is now untouchable, unavailable, unbothered. And when that day comes, when the silence becomes unbearable, when the regrets scream louder than their pride, don't answer, don't explain, don't return, because your absence is not a punishment. It's a reminder that love, loyalty, time, they all have limits. And once those limits are crossed, there's no rewind, no redo, just silence, just space, just the ghost of what could have been. And them, they'll sit with it, alone, exactly how they made you feel. Let's talk about that silence now, yours, the one you built, not from weakness, but from wisdom, the kind of silence that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. See, people think silence means defeat, that you walked away because you couldn't fight anymore. What they don't understand is you didn't walk away to escape. You walked away because there was nothing left to say. You already explained yourself 100 times. You already gave them every version of the truth, every reason, every apology you didn't even owe. And still, They treated your words like background noise. So you stopped speaking. And that's when everything changed. That's when your absence became louder than your voice ever was. Because silence is not surrender. It's control. It's discipline. It's power. And when someone finally understands what they lost, but the one they lost is no longer explaining, no longer reaching, no longer trying, that's when regret grows teeth. And it bites hard. It bites when they scroll through memories, and every laugh feels like a punch to the chest. It bites when they hear your name in conversations they can't control. It bites when they realize that the love they called too much was the exact kind of love nobody gives them anymore. Not now. Not after you. Because the truth is, most people aren't ready for someone who sees through their chaos and still chooses to stay. They're used to conditional affection, fake interest, temporary attention. But you were all in, real, present, dangerous, not because you were perfect, but because you were consistent. And consistency scares people who thrive in dysfunction. It forces them to look in the mirror. And the reflection, it's ugly when loyalty's staring back at a coward. You know what makes them suffer the most? It's not that you're gone. It's that you left without turning into them. You didn't go bitter. You didn't go public. You didn't drag their name or post some toxic, cryptic nonsense. You just vanished. Quietly, maturely, like a ghost with standards. And that silence, it burns. Because deep down they expected a breakdown, they expected begging, they expected you to fall apart without them, but you didn't. You elevated, you grew, you got quieter, smarter, sharper. And now they watch from the sidelines, pretending they don't care while drowning in questions they'll never get answers to, because you made peace with the pain. You turned it into fuel. And that makes you unreachable. They'll pretend they're fine. They'll tell themselves 1,000 stories to justify what they did. You were too emotional. You were too intense. You were just a phase. But none of that sticks when the truth haunts them. When their heart whispers your name in the middle of shallow conversations, when they're surrounded by people who want their time, but not their soul, that's when your value becomes undeniable. Not because you forced it, but because you removed it. Because sometimes the loudest lesson is the one taught in silence. When they have to sit with their own choices, when they finally realize the one who gave everything walked away with nothing but dignity. And here's the part that really kills them. You didn't do it for revenge. You didn't leave to prove a point. You left because you finally realized they weren't listening. And you're done explaining your worth to people who benefit from pretending not to see it. That shift, that moment, you decided your peace was more important than their confusion. That's the day the game changed. That's the day the power flipped. Now, you're not the one wondering what went wrong. They are. They sit in that silence they once celebrated. And it's not peaceful. It's not healing. It's punishment. The kind they gave you, now served cold. But don't go back. Don't break the silence for a temporary comfort. Don't answer just because they're finally curious. Curiosity isn't change. Guilt isn't growth. Regret isn't love. Let them rot in the mess they made when they mistook your presence for permanence. Let them learn that once a real one walks away, they don't come back. Not because they hate you, but because they finally love themselves more. You want to know when the real pain starts for them? It's not when you leave. Number. It's when life hits and you're not there to soften the blow. It's when the storms come and suddenly they realize you were the shelter. You were the one who answered at 2 a.m., who stayed up just to make sure they were breathing, who cared even when they pushed you away. And now they've got silence, fake friends, cold screens, shallow words. They'll go looking for that energy in all the wrong places, thinking maybe someone else will heal them like you did. But all they'll find is fragments, disappointment. People who only show up for the good times and vanish when things get dark. And in those moments, when they're on the floor, broken, alone, hurting, that's when your absence screams the loudest. Not like a whisper in the wind, but like thunder in a quiet church. Because people don't notice presence when it's always there. They notice it when it's gone. They'll try to fill that silence with noise, parties, dates, distractions. But none of it fits right. None of it hits the same, because it's not you. And that's the curse of losing someone who loved them in silence. They won't find that love again. Not because no one's capable, but because no one will want to like you did. No one's gonna dig that deep just to understand someone who treated love like a temporary fix. You were the one who looked into their chaos and saw beauty, who stayed when everything said walk away, who gave even when your hands were empty. And now they sit with memories they don't know how to process, and silence they can't explain. The silence you left, it's intelligent. It doesn't beg. It doesn't shout. It just watches. Watches as they cycle through empty conversations, as they lie to themselves over and over again. I'm better now. I didn't need them. They were too much anyway. Lies. Pathetic little shields to block the guilt. But guilt always finds a crack. And once it gets in, it festers. It grows. It twists the heart until they can't sleep, can't breathe, can't look in the mirror without seeing you. That's the kind of silence you built. One that speaks in regret. One that haunts every quiet moment. And they'll try to run from it, but it'll follow. Because you weren't just a chapter. You were the turning point. The moment they'll always look back at and whisper, that's when I lost everything. But listen, I know, you're still hurting. still healing, still asking yourself, was it all a waste? Let me answer that for you. No. What you gave wasn't wasted. It was rare, and rare things don't lose value just because they're placed in the wrong hands. You gave them gold, and they were too blind to see past the dirt in their own eyes. That's not on you. That's on them. And eventually, they'll choke on that realization. They'll suffocate in the truth that they had someone irreplaceable and treated them like a placeholder. That they had someone who showed up, stood by, and held on, and they let them go like it was nothing. But guess what? It was everything. And now, without you, every good morning feels empty. Every laugh feels forced. Every moment feels like a flicker of what once was and can never be again. So keep going, keep walking, keep growing in your silence. Let them learn, let them suffer, let them sit in the emptiness they created. Because your revenge isn't noise, it's not anger, it's not even success, it's peace. The kind they'll never have again. The kind that only comes after you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop caring. That peace, it's a quiet crown, and it fits you better than their chaos ever did. Let your absence be your message. Let your silence be your power. Because one day, they'll wake up, scroll through their life, and realize every beautiful thing is now behind them. And the only sound left is the echo of you walking away. And here's the most brutal truth, the one they'll never say out loud, but it'll eat at them every time they're alone. You were the only one who truly gave a damn. Everyone else, they came for convenience. They showed up when it benefited them. They stuck around for the highs, vanished at the lows. But you stayed. Through the mess, through the confusion, through the days when they couldn't even love themselves. You saw the broken pieces and didn't flinch. You picked them up every damn time, and you tried to glue them back together with your own energy, your own time, your own peace. And they called it too much. They mistook devotion for desperation. They looked at your love and thought it was replaceable, disposable. And now they sit surrounded by people who don't even know their favorite song, people who wouldn't notice if they disappeared, people who say, "I'm here for you," and mean it until it's inconvenient. You ever seen someone realize they downgraded? It's not instant. It's a slow burn. It starts with boredom, then restlessness, then a subtle craving for something real, something deep. But by then, it's gone. Because real doesn't wait around while someone plays with illusions. Real doesn't sit on the shelf hoping to be chosen. You were real, and they traded it for surface-level comfort. And now, they pay the price, quietly, daily. Because life has a twisted way of circling back, of teaching lessons without your permission. They'll hear your name in a joke. They'll see someone with your laugh. They'll read a message you once sent, and suddenly stop breathing for a second. That's how it hits. Not like a wave, but like a slow suffocation. Every little reminder, your voice, your words, your care, becomes a dagger, dressed as nostalgia. But you've got to understand something too. You can't save people who are addicted to their own chaos. You can't heal someone who keeps breaking themselves just to feel alive. You were their calm, and they hated it because it made them face their own storm. You were their mirror, and they couldn't handle what they saw, so they ran, or worse, they pushed you, tested you, played with your patience until you snapped. And then they played the victim, acted like your silence was the crime, not their disrespect. But that's how it goes, right? The villain is always the one who finally walks away, not the ones who made leaving necessary. But don't get it twisted. You didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to stop hurting yourself. And that's power. That's self-love. That's growth. Because your silence, it wasn't empty. It was full. Full of every word you swallowed, every boundary you bent, every time you said it's okay when it wasn't. And when you finally stopped speaking, it wasn't because you had nothing to say. It was because they didn't deserve to hear it anymore. And that's what will haunt them. Not your voice, your lack of it, not your presence, your absence, not your anger, your indifference. Because love doesn't die in a fight, it dies in silence. And now that you're gone, they're going to learn what real loss sounds like. Not with shouting or slamming doors, but with the echo of someone who used to care, now gone so cold, you can't even find their shadow. And that echo, it's not a sound, it's a feeling. It's waking up and realizing no one checks in anymore. It's scrolling through chats and seeing your name at the top. Untouched, unopened, unreachable. It's remembering how they used to be the center of someone's world. And now they're not even on your radar. That's the pain they'll carry. Not the pain of rejection, but the pain of being forgotten by the one who remembered everything. And they'll wear that silence like a curse. They'll try to escape it, laugh through it, love through it. But it'll follow. Because when you lose someone who loved you with patience, with grace, with presence, that kind of loss is permanent. It doesn't fade, it infects. So don't look back. Don't wonder if they miss you. They do, in the deepest way, in the quietest hour, in the nights they pretend they're okay. But you're not their cure anymore. You're the scar they'll carry. And some scars, they itch forever. And it gets worse for them, not better. Because time doesn't heal what they broke with their own hands. It reminds. It reminds them of every maybe later they threw at you. Every eye roll, every dismissive shrug when you poured your heart out. Time replays those moments like a highlight reel, but twisted, because now it plays without the comfort of you still being around. Now those moments aren't things they brushed off. They're regrets, sins, echoes, You know what the real punishment is? It's not you walking away. It's them realizing they had you and didn't care until they couldn't reach you anymore. That's the kind of regret that doesn't speak out loud. It burns, quietly, slowly, deeply. They'll try to convince themselves they're okay, that they're fine, that they're happier now. But happiness, built on pretense, has cracks. And the thing about cracks, they widen in silence. And at night, when there's no more noise, no more friends, no more likes on posts that don't even feel real, that's when you hit them. Not because you're doing anything, not because you're trying, but because your absence became a presence. An invisible weight they can't shake off, a shadow they see in every new connection, a bar they can't reach anymore, because no one holds space like someone who once made your soul feel seen. And you saw them fully, and they'll never feel that again. Let me tell you what happens when they finally get it, when the fog clears, when they understand they pushed away the one who stayed during the worst. They'll reach out. Some will be subtle. Hey, just thought of you today. Others will be more desperate. I miss how we used to be. But here's the thing. You've changed. You're no longer the version of you that tolerated the bare minimum. You've grown into someone who sees the red flags the first time, not after they cut you. You've built a peace so thick that their chaos can't find a place in it anymore. And no matter how sincere their regret sounds, no matter how guilty their eyes look, you don't go back to what broke you, because going back doesn't fix anything. It just teaches them that they can hurt you and still keep you. And that's a lesson you never teach someone. You never let them think your love is unconditional when they made you bleed for it. That's not love. That's manipulation dressed in nostalgia. That's them needing your energy, not because they're better now, but because their life got darker without it. And you're not a light switch. You're not some emergency exit they get to use only when everything else burns down. You were the home, and they left it. They didn't just walk out, they slammed the door, broke the walls, and now they miss the warmth they destroyed. And they will try to find it. Oh, they'll try. In strangers' arms, in fake smiles, in dead-end conversations. But it won't work, because every touch will remind them of your comfort. Every word will remind them of your honesty. Every silence will remind them of your absence. They'll crave the way you understood things without them having to explain. The way you were soft with your words and sharp with your loyalty. The way you showed up every time. And eventually, that craving, it'll break them. Not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day, until the silence you left becomes the loudest thing in their life. And you won't hear from them, not because they don't want to speak, but because they can't. They know they lost you. They know they gambled with someone real and lost. And that kind of loss, it makes people quiet. Not out of peace, but out of shame, out of fear, Fear that they'll reach out and you'll be exactly what they never imagined. Unavailable. Not because you hate them, but because you outgrew them. Because you found peace in your solitude. Because you realized that sometimes the best revenge is no revenge, just silence, stillness, distance, and success so calm it screams. And don't be fooled if you see them laughing, partying, glowing up online. It's a stage show, a cover-up for a soul on fire. That smile they wear now, it's stitched together with threads of denial. Those new people around them, replacements, not connections. Because real connections don't happen overnight. Real connection requires depth, time, vulnerability. And that's what you gave. They didn't lose a person. They lost a history, a home, a witness to their journey. And you can't recreate that with anyone. You can mimic it, sure, dress it up, act it out. But eventually, the truth bleeds through. And when it does, when those fake smiles get heavy, when their new distractions start to feel empty, that's when they'll whisper your name to a night that doesn't answer back. Because you were never just someone. You were the one who didn't flinch at their flaws, the one who saw their scars and didn't look away, the one who stayed after most would have left, and most importantly, the one who believed in them more than they believed in themselves. That kind of presence doesn't go unnoticed forever. That kind of love doesn't dissolve in a month or two. It lingers. It shadows. It claws at the edges of their thoughts when they least expect it. Because no matter how much they pretend, there will be nights when the silence wraps around them like a noose. Nights when the weight of what if suffocates their pride. Nights when they scroll through your old messages, hoping for a sign you still care, and finding nothing. And that nothing, that silence, it will be the loudest lesson of their life. Because you know what they really lost? A version of you that no longer exists. The version that loved recklessly, that waited around, that gave second chances without blinking. That version is gone, burned in the fire they lit. What's left now is someone colder, wiser, sharper, someone who no longer feels the need to prove their worth to people who made you beg for crumbs. And that's what'll hit them hardest. Not just that they lost you, but that even if they came back, you wouldn't recognize them anymore. Because your healing changed your taste. Your silence matured your standards. Your pain elevated your value. You're not who they left behind. You're who they'll never reach again. And they'll test it. They'll send feelers. Random, I miss you messages. Old memories forwarded. Songs that once meant something. They'll try to poke the old wounds, hoping you'll still bleed. But the scar tissue is thick now. The heart still beats, but not for them. And when they realize they no longer have access, that's when the real unraveling begins. Because it's not the loss that breaks people. It's the realization that the door they slammed is now locked from the inside. You moved on, not out of spite, but out of necessity. Because you finally learned what they refused to see. Your love was a gift, not a sentence. So let them pretend. Let them post. Let them smile wide and speak loud. Because behind every performance is a silence that's screaming. And that scream, it's not just your absence. It's the echo of their own betrayal, the echo of the moment they took something pure and made it feel like too much. Let that echo haunt them. Let it keep them company when the crowd fades. Let it be the soundtrack to every new connection that falls short. Because people don't forget the ones who loved them fully, they just try to. Until the silence comes back with teeth. And when it does, it won't ask for attention. It won't knock gently. It'll break the door down, sit beside them in the dark, and say, "Remember who you lost." And in that moment, they'll wish they'd done everything differently. But the thing about silence is, once it becomes your answer, it's permanent. And here's what they'll never admit, not to you, not to their friends, not even to themselves when they're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wide awake with regret pounding in their chest. They never thought you'd actually leave. That's the truth that'll rot their insides. They thought you'd always be there. That no matter how many times they ignored you, hurt you, chose others over you, you'd stay, you'd wait, you'd forgive. That's what they banked on. That was their silent confidence. Because you loved so loud. Because you cared so deeply. Because every time they messed up, you showed up. And now you're gone. For real. And the worst part? You didn't slam the door. You didn't curse them out. You didn't burn bridges. You just disappeared. Like light fading at dusk. Quiet. Complete. Final. That silence, it haunts them more than any fight ever could. Because it's the silence of someone who's finished. Not angry, not bitter, just done. That's the most terrifying kind of silence there is. It's the silence of someone who's healed enough to see clearly. And when you see clearly, you don't chase chaos. You don't run after people who can't even spell loyalty. You don't explain your worth to anyone who tried to make you feel worthless. You just go. And you never look back. That silence, it's not just absence. It's a verdict, a final answer, a declaration that says, you can't come back here. Not now, not ever. And don't for a second think they don't feel it. They do. Every day, every hour, every fake smile and shallow conversation is a reminder of the depth they once had with you. You became the standard they can't meet anymore. Because no one will ever show up like you did. No one will read between their silences the way you did. No one will hold their darkness without flinching. Because no one else is you. And that realization, that's the kind of pain that doesn't heal. That's the kind of pain that lingers because you weren't perfect, but you were present, and that's rare. So let them pretend you didn't matter. Let them post about healing and growth and protecting their peace. It's all noise, because deep down, they know. They know they fumbled something sacred. They know they treated a once-in-a-lifetime soul like a seasonal convenience. And that knowledge, it doesn't go away. It stays, lurking, festering, reminding them every time they try to connect with someone new and feel nothing. Because the kind of connection they had with you, it wasn't normal. It was once in a lifetime. It was alignment. It was home. And they burned it down like it meant nothing. But here's where you win. You didn't retaliate. You didn't beg. You didn't stoop. You let your silence speak. And trust me, it spoke louder than any words ever could. It said, I've outgrown your confusion. I've made peace with your absence. I've realized I deserve more. That's the kind of power that doesn't shout. It just is. And they feel it every damn day, whether they show it or not. And that's your revenge. Not spite, not pettiness, not games, just peace. Just presence. Just the kind of energy that says, I've moved on and you can't come with me. Because they don't miss the version of you they lost. They miss the version of themselves they got to be when they were with you. The version that felt safe, loved, wanted. Now they look in the mirror and see someone hollow, someone empty, someone responsible for their own loneliness. And that's a pain no one can fix but themselves. You were the medicine. They spit it out. And now they're sick with regret. Quiet. Number smiling in pictures, but dying in silence. And the worst part? You're not there to fix it anymore. You're not theirs to hurt anymore. You're just a memory. A memory that screams.